opportunities. And I appreciate all you do, and I appreciate Tom too. Tom gives me a hard time sometimes, and Tom can be quite a character, as I think the entire District 2S4 realizes he can be a character. I was asked to be here by Lion Tom, but I was able to find out and feel appreciated and offered to be here by your district governor, Lion Madeline. And thank you very, very much for allowing me to be here. District 2E1 is my home district, but I will guarantee you that District 2S4 has a very strong place in my heart. And each one of you in this room are part of the reason for that. Whether you're a new Lion, whether you've been a Lion for 60 plus years. I was telling several of the people up here at the head table that, and this may just get me kicked out of the door right away, that past District Governor Charles Dittler and I go way back. So if you're going to throw rolls, go ahead and get it over with now. But Lion Charles was a part of a council that I served on our district governor's leadership team as the cabinet secretary treasurer. And whenever I got to be in that position, my own district governor, who was past council chairman Scott Evans, Scott took me everywhere that he was to go to the different state meetings. And one of the first ones that he took me to was actually to Texas City. And we were down there, and then of course the 2 trips to Kerrville for those meetings, and then I think we were also in Lubbock for a meeting. But Charles and Scott's council kind of took me under the wing, and they just basically adopted me. So that was back, I guess, in 98, 99, I believe. And so I've been indoctrinated into what happens maybe at a state level at a pretty early age for me. Your district has held many people in very high esteem for me. Whenever I was the president of Stephenville Lions Club, there was a gentleman that moved back to Stephenville. He was originally from Stephenville, but he had worked with the gas companies and everything, natural gas companies, and he was in Cuero for quite some time, Cuero and I think Yoakum both. And his name was Jim Stone. And I know that there are probably some in this room that could possibly remember past District Governor Jim Stone. So Jim moved to Stephenville, and he did that the year before I was president of our local Lions Club there at Stephenville. Jim and Lion Scott were instrumental in helping me the year that I was president of our club grow our club and double in size. And it was through a membership challenge that each of them had, and I was the recipient of all the awards of that. But the reason that it happened was there were 2 very passionate Lions that took it upon themselves to go out there and spread the message that we have in the community of Stephenville and see that club grow the way it did. I started off saying thank you, and I will end saying thank you. And I will say thank you to you every chance that I get, because what you do as Lions in your communities and throughout the state of Texas is very, very important. We do not know the number of lives that we change. We do not know the number of opportunities that are made possible for people out there to live a life differently than they've been living. We don't always know how much light, and I love Lion Madeline's focus this year, let's be the light. We don't know how much light that we truly do bring to a world that in many cases is filled with darkness. I want to say thank you to the leadership team that's here for all that you do, all that you will continue to do. Lion Devin, I better be on the cruise ship is all I have to say. You gotta find me a place. I love Cozumel. I love the beach. I don't do cold weather, so I'm your guy, okay? Y'all are fun, and I've seen y'all interact with each other this morning, and everyone in here is engaged. Everyone in here is caring and concerned about the people that are in this room. And it's good to see that. It's good to socialize as an organization that we are. I want to say a special thank you because I am here to speak about the Texas Lions Camp, our Texas Lions Camp, but I'm also going to speak a little bit on something that's equally important to me and foundational to everything that we do as Lions. And that's going to be a few words about membership. But I want to say a special thanks to Lion Jackie and Lion Bill for the work that they do as elected directors to your Texas Lions Camp. I understand, Lion Ron, that you will be coming right behind them, and I expect great things for you. And I wish you all success. It was mentioned a little bit earlier, the question was asked, or a statement was made actually, about those in the room being Lions. I want you to lift your hand if you're a Lions Club member. A Lions Club member. If you're a Lions Club member, lift your hand. All right, go ahead and hold them down. A lot of times I like to have people stand up and do all this kind of fun stuff. We just got through with lunch. So. Of all those people that raised your hand, I want to see your hands for all of those people that were asked to join your Lions Club. I would expect it's the same number of hands, okay? Because we are. We're an organization that's by invitation only. So this is what we're going to call the Q&A session, questions and answers. And I'm not going to put you on the spot, and I'm not going to do that because I don't like to have that done myself and be asking a question out and all this kind of stuff. But I want you to think about what I have to say in the sense of questions and answers. Someone asks you a question one day. Hey, would you like to be a part of my Lions Club? And you had the opportunity to answer. And for everybody in this room, you chose to answer yes. And again, for that, I say thank you very much that you did. But I'm equally as thankful for that person that asked that question. Will you be a part of my Lions Club? I always like to talk about what has happened in the past to kind of give us a foundation or a basis of understanding of who we are and what we do, and especially where we came from. And I know this is redundant to a lot of things that have been said today, been wonderful things said, and they've been said very passionately. And for a lot of y'all, you're going, why are you sitting here telling me these things that I already know? But I think they're needed. I think every once in a while we have to be reminded where we came from, what we've been challenged by, the questions that were asked, and the answers that were given. Something amazing happened around 1917. And that's whenever a businessman in Chicago, Illinois, an insurance salesman, asked a question. I think he asked this question to himself. What can I do to make a difference in this world? He was a part of an organization, a group that was very active back then. I believe it was called the Chicago Businessmen's Circle or something like that. And what they did is they got together and they built relationships and they talked about things, but mostly it was to share information and to basically work with each other through their businesses. It was a social club. It wasn't a service organization like our Lions Clubs International now is. Melvin Jones made a statement one time that you can't get very far in life until you start doing something for someone else. Think about that. You can't get very far in life until you start doing something for someone else. That's what we do as Lions. We don't do it for ourselves. We do it for someone else. Now, what we get out of that when we do that is amazing. The question was asked, what can we do for someone else? And the answer in 1917 was, we can organize a group of people. It's called Lions Clubs International. We fast forward to 8 years. And this is something, the first time that I heard this story, the first time that I heard this speech read, hit home with me I just happened to be in the right place at the right time when someone asked me if I would join their Lions Club. 1925 in Cedar Point, Ohio, Helen Keller gave a very moving speech to the Lions at that Lions Club's international meeting. I want to read a little bit of that for you. And I know many of y'all have probably heard it, but I think it's worth repeating. These are the words of Helen Keller. I suppose that you have heard the legend that represents opportunity as a capricious lady who knocks at every door but once, and if the door isn't opened quickly, she passes on, never to return. And that is as it should be. Lovely, desirable ladies won't wait. You have to go out and grab them. I am your opportunity. I am knocking at your door. I want to be adopted. The legend doesn't say what you are to do when several beautiful opportunities present themselves at the same door. I guess you have to choose the one that you love the most. I hope you will adopt me. I am the youngest here, and what I offer you is full of splendid opportunities of service. The American Foundation for the Blind is only 4 years old. It grew out of the imperative needs of the blind and was called into existence by the sightless themselves. It is national and international in scope and in importance. It represents the best and most enlightened thought on our subject that has been reached so far. Its object is to make the lives of the blind more worthwhile everywhere by increasing their economic value and giving them the joy of normal activity. Try to imagine how you would feel if you were suddenly stricken blind today. Think about that. Picture yourself stumbling and groping at noondays as in the night, your work, your independence gone. In that dark world, wouldn't you be glad to find a friend who took you by the hand and said, "Come with me, and I will teach you to do some of the things that you used to do when you could see." That is just the kind of friend the American Foundation is going to be for all the blind in this country if seeing people will give it the support that it must have. You have heard how through the little word dropped from the fingers of another, a ray of light from another soul touched the darkness of my mind. And I found myself, I found the world, and I found God. It is because my teacher learned about me and broke through the dark, silent imprisonment which held me that I am able to work for myself and for others. It is the caring we want more than money. The gift without the sympathy and interest of the giver is empty. If you care, if we can make the people of this great country care, the blind will indeed triumph over blindness. The opportunity I bring to you, Lions, is this: to foster and sponsor the work of the American Foundation for the Blind. Will you not help me hasten the day when there shall be no preventable blindness? No little deaf blind child untaught, no blind man or woman unaided. I appeal to you, Lions, you who have your sight, your hearing, you who are strong and brave and kind. Will you not constitute yourselves knights of the blind in this crusade against darkness? Darkness. We have a governor that has a vision for light. We had Helen Keller, who also had a vision for light. The question was asked, what are we going to do about the blind? Will you not be my knights of the blind? And the answer was told. The answer was yes. And that's what we did. And we should be very proud of the fact that we took on that challenge and then we answered yes. 1925, Helen Keller challenged us. 24 years later, a gentleman named Jack Weech came and had another question. This time that question before the Lions was, what are we going to do about the children? 1949, many of y'all know what was going on in this country. It was a polio epidemic. And kids were challenged. Challenged in ways that children should never have to be challenged. And Jack Weech, a lion, along with other lions, decided that the answer to that question, what are we going to do about the children? That answer was, we're going to create what we now know and love as your Texas Lions Camp. We celebrate 75 years of Texas Lions Camp this year. We celebrate that because the question was asked and an answer was given. It's been said that you give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. It's also said that you teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. I know there's a lot of little funny things that can come on that second part too, just like you teach him how to fish and he'll be gone all week eating it, or all these kind of things. My wife would agree with both of those, but she would tell it just a little bit differently. She would say that if you tell Gary a story about Texas Lions Camp, he'll think about it for a day. But if you take Gary to Texas Lions Camp, he's going to stop everybody that he sees in HEB. He's going to stop and talk to everybody on an elevator that looks at his shirt and asks the question, what is Texas Lions Camp? He's going to sit there and walk through the parking lot as someone goes past his vehicle and sees these plates on it that say Texas Lions Camp and tell them about the miracles and wonderful things that happen at Texas Lions Camp. You give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he eats for life. Our Texas Lions Camp is a commitment that we share when we visit that camp, that we share that feeling for life, that we take that with us everywhere that we go. I want to give you a story about my first experience at Texas Lions Camp. And I know some of y'all in this room have heard this. I know Susan has recently heard this. And I'm not going to give the expanded version because we'll be here till 3 o'clock and y'all run me out of town. But a question was asked. This was early. I joined Lions Club in 1989. I was 6 years old. So, my hair has really turned gray. My body hurts a whole lot more. I can't do a lot of things I used to do, but I still think I can. Anyway, 1989, I joined Steveville Lions Club. And we had a pretty small club. And we had a club that was a city limits club. We had a club that was on the verge of dying. Fortunately, we had some more senior members of our club that really cared about Lions Club. And they came to about 4 or 5 of us and said, we need you to go out and find some of your friends. We want you to join the club, and guess what? We're going to let you do whatever you want to do. Just don't mess up. And don't let this club ever go away. So we took that challenge and we went out and found some friends about the same ages as us, and we started doing things a little bit differently and kind of got the name in the district as being the buffoons of the district, which we wore that badge like a badge of honor. But we had a president, a gentleman that was coming in, his name was Ken Luker. He was coming in as our president. And he had the idea, he'd started involving himself in some of the district activities. And the rest of us had never stepped outside of the city limits of Stephenville, Texas, as far as it was in regard to Lions Club. And Lion Ken came to us, and there were 7 of us there, and him included made 8. He came with a great idea. He'd heard all these things at the district meetings about Texas Lions Camp. And he came and said, hey guys, I got a great idea. It was early in the summer. He said, I want us to go down to Texas Lions Camp, and I've got it all lined up for this date and everything, and I'll check the calendars and make sure that'll work. And believe it or not, all 7 of us were standing around without even looking at the calendar going, I can't make it that day. I've got something I've got to do. It was amazing. I don't know how it worked out that way. So Lion Ken said, okay. We get a little later in the summer, and summer camp is about to wrap up and everything. He comes back, gathers us all up, and goes, hey, I got another good idea. We're all going to go down to Texas Lions Camp, and there's 2 weeks left, so we can do it on this day. And amazingly, whenever he asked us if we had anything to do, we all still had the same kind of things that we had to do. So we go through a whole other year, and this year is actually Ken's year as being president. He just goes out, we get to the summer session, and he comes to us, same 7 of us. I got a great idea, guys. We're gonna go down Guadalupe, who's in? Who's in? Every one of us, without looking at anything, without questioning the day, whatever, we were all in. That sounded like our kind of thing. We were gonna have fun. And Ken said, well, it's on this day. Make sure, it's, don't even need to check. I know, we're good. We're solid on this, all of us. It's like, are you sure? It's like, yeah. I said, great. Because we're gonna go down there, we're gonna go canoe it and everything. And the day after we get through canoeing, we're gonna get up a little early. We're gonna drive to Kerrville, Texas. We're gonna visit the Texas Lions. So we did. It's like, yeah, I wish I could think that quickly, but of course it's not that quickly. It took him a year to come up with this, so that's all right though. So we did. We go down and Scott Evans is one of those individuals that was there, and I've got some stories if you ever want to have any dirt on my Scott Evans. I can tell you all kinds of stuff. How to not stand up in the canoe and try to clean off your shoes in the middle of the river, especially when it's 7 o'clock in the morning and the water feels like it's 34 degrees. Oh, brother. Anyway, we get there and we have fun and everything. We're there in New Braunfels, and we go out and eat that night. And we get up the next morning and we go in. Ken's already made, my liquor's already made arrangements and everything for us to have a tour of the camp and all. So we go in there and there's a counselor waiting for us, and she's like, hey, where y'all want to start? It's like, we don't have a clue. We don't know what's going on, so just show us around. We're just trying to make Lion Ken Luker happy with us, okay? So she takes us up the hill. We pass the little open air chapel area and everything. She says, hey, there's a bunch of boys over here in this bunkhouse, and they're just about to get up and go do some projects. And so we'll go wake them up and have a good time with them for a little bit before we go on to some other areas. So we go in there, and boy, I tell you, when we walk in there, those kids' faces light up and everything. It's wonderful to see the excitement, happiness that they have. And again, if you want to find out about what's online Scott Evans' heart, ask him to tell you about the story that he experienced that same day that we were there. Because there was a little boy in the cabin that we visited, and his name was Scotty. And how Scotty was introduced to Flying Scott was a pretty amazing story. But we go in and get to meet some of the kids and have a good time there. And so we step back outside, and the counselor says, well, right up here on the top of the hill is a swimming pool, and there's some kiddos up there, so let's go visit the pool. I'll show you all the pool before we go around to the dining hall, look at the other activities going on. We step out, and I notice where she says that, we step out of the bunkhouse, and you hear the noise, up the hill of the kids laughing and playing and splashing, just like you would hear kids laughing and playing and splashing in your own city park at your own city swimming pool, if you would. We get a little further, and the further up we go on the hill, the louder it gets. But again, what's the big deal about this? It's just like if I go to Stephenville City Park and I go walk around the pool, I want to hear exactly the same thing. We finally press the top of the hill, and you can see the kids then inside the swimming pool, and you see all the water splashing around and everything. But it's just like a whole bunch of kids, just like you would see at your own city park, in your own city swimming pool. Till I get about 15 feet from that chain link fence that goes around that pool. And around that chain link fence was every type of wheelchair, every type of walker, every type of crutch, every type of adaptive device you could ever imagine. And inside that swimming pool, there were 20 or 30 kids. They were just being kids. And it was at that moment, and a lot of people have this moment when you visit Texas Lions Camp. It was at that moment that I knew I was in the right place. I may have been a Lion for a couple of years prior to that, but it solidified it at that time. And when Madeline made some comments about the service and the servant's heart and that kind of stuff, and that's one of the things that connected me to service. And I guarantee you, if you haven't been to your Texas Lions camp, it's one of the things that will connect you to your service. Not just the service that we provide for kids that are challenged, kids that are extraordinary, if you would. It'll connect you with everything that you do as a service organization and every type of service that you have in your community that way. So I said I was going to say something about membership, and when do I need these so I can make sure? Okay. Okay. So, why is membership important? That question gets asked a lot. And I guarantee you, if you ever served as a district governor, if you've ever been at a club meeting where the district governor came and gave a program, if you've ever heard your club president speak after hearing the district governor come and give a program, you've heard something about membership. Membership, membership, membership. And it's not, I'm not berating membership in that regard, because it is so vitally important. But why we need membership? Why is it important? I look at this and I think there's a lot of reasons, and I wrote down several of them. And one of them I know in our district is one of the things, and it's bragging rights, okay? So in a district, it's bragging rights. Back in 1996, Stephenville Lions Club had more members than anybody else in our district, and I guarantee you, buddy, we let everybody know it. Any district meeting that we started going to, they knew Stephenville Lions Club was there, and we stuck our chest out because we were the biggest club in the district. Come get us. That was kind of our mantra right there. Just come get us. Well, now Vernon, who is in the northwest end of our district, is nearly double the size of Stephenville, so we don't stick our chest out. But that's one of the things that we do with membership. We brag about membership. But we also have more fun with more members. Is it fun to go pick up trash? Not always. Is it fun to go pick up trash with 16 people and discuss all the crazy things that you find? Yeah, it is. It really is. It can be fun. Service can be fun. With more members, it's even more fun. One of the things, technically, this is said to happen, possibly or not happen, whether it's debatable or not, but the Lions in Constitutional Area 1, which is the United States, are dwindling in numbers, while other constitutional areas all over the world are tending to increase in numbers. Lions Clubs International is organized in the United States. Our home office is in Oak Brook, Illinois. There have been talks, there have been discussions, there have been threats. If Constitutional 1 can't keep up in membership, maybe they don't deserve to have the international office headquarters. Whether it's right, wrong, or whatever, membership is important. There's three things that I think really are vitally important and why we would say that we want more members. And the first one is that more members provide more dollars to support what we do. We have so many organizations, so many of the charities that we support that are hindered by the budgets that they have, that they cannot take care of, they can't grow, they can't do things, they can't meet the needs of the services of the individuals that they serve because of financial constraints. Texas used to have the membership that supported those organizations wholly. And now all of those organizations are trying to find resources outside of the Lions of the state of Texas to be able to do what they need to be doing, to be able to meet the needs of those that need their services. Why is membership important? There's more voices to tell our story. The more people we have, the more stories we share, the more opportunities that we have to get our message out. But most importantly, I think, why is it important to have more members? It's because we can provide more services in our communities. I used to always ask this question whenever I was a district governor. I'd go out on my visits. Who in here right now is, a show of hands, who in here right now could say that all the needs of your community are being met? never, all the years that I've had the opportunity to speak in front of groups and clubs, I've never seen a single hand raised. And I think that is probably the biggest reason that we need more members. I've often told clubs whenever I was governor and I'd go to a different club, it's like, yeah, we just kind of like the size of our club and these kind of things like that. And I would ask them that question and make them think about that and say, okay, so these things are being unmet in your communities. If you had another set of hands, does it get you a little further down the road to meet the demands and the needs? And everybody's answer was always yes. So why is membership important? Membership's important because we, a service organization, an organization with a motto, we serve, can do more service. We never know what that one opportunity to serve will do to change someone's life. The life of the servant, and also the life of those being served. There's a story that was told a while back at camp, and I'll share this, and then it'll be the last story I'll share about camp. COVID did disastrous things to our organization. But just as I said, problems can be looked at as unsolved opportunities. COVID provided an unsolved opportunity for your Texas Lions camp. COVID allowed a wonderful creative thing to happen, and that wonderful creative thing is called family camp. Something that we had never thought of before. Something that we'd always been challenged with. I was an elected director for 4 years, and every time that I would find a family that had a child that needed the services of our Texas Lions camp, every single time that I had a communication or a contact with a parent that child had never been to camp, the first thing that those parents, mom and dad both, would say is, we just can't turn loose of our child because nobody can take care of him like we do. And no matter how hard I would try, year after year, many times, not be able to convince that parent otherwise. Now, sometimes after a couple of years, they would finally give in, and I think it was just because they wanted Gary to shut up and say, okay, we're willing to try. Fast forward to COVID. I will tell you, serving, and Susan will say the same thing, serving on the executive committee and putting it before a vote to actually not hold camp in the manner in which we had that 1 year was heartbreaking. There was not a dry eye on that Zoom call, as we all get to experience Zoom calls during those times. It's one of the most difficult decisions I've ever had to be a part of as a Lion. But from that, wonderful things started to happen because the very next year was when family camp came into play. And I will tell you a story about what happened at family camp and why it is so amazing for it to continue on. Many of y'all know Stephen Mabry is the president and CEO of your Texas Lions camp. Well, during that time of COVID, it was very hard to get counselors in. We couldn't get counselors from overseas, as you're probably aware of. The majority of the counselors that we do have come from overseas, a lot of them from Australia and all over. Well, because we couldn't get counselors there, we did have family camp, we did have kids on campus, we did have activities going on. Stephen's son, Seth, stepped up and said, hey, I'm willing to help do whatever I can. Glenn Wilson, who is the equestrian director there, put his arm around Seth and said, come on, you're going to be with me and we're going to do wonderful things. So this family shows up and they have a son, and this son is nonverbal. And they're out there at the horse barn, and Seth has got this boy on a horse. And this boy is tense, and this boy is tight, and he is not enjoying himself one little bit. Seth starts taking that horse in circles. He kind of leans into the shoulder of that horse with his shoulder, and he kind of looks up at that little boy. You have to remember, this is a child that has been nonverbal. He looks at that little boy and he makes this little sound of whee. He goes around and makes these circles. He makes another circle, and every time he makes a circle, he gets it a little tighter. Looks up there at that little boy and goes whee. He does that about 3 times. And right after he gets through saying we, the little boy on the back of that horse, who is nonverbal, goes, wee. If that doesn't break your heart, I don't know what will. Seth said, and he told us about this at a VIP meeting that we had down there where the elected directors are invited to come down and see more about Texas Lions Camp. Seth said the amazing thing wasn't only that little boy is up there now going, whee, but he looks across the bars, across the pipe fence that corral's built out of, and mom and dad are on the other side of that fence, tears in their eyes, because their son is on the back of a horse making noise. And that's a moment whenever it all hits home, that you're a part of an organization that does wonderful things. And just as I started out saying thank you, I say thank you again, because each and every one of you in this room makes that kind of difference in someone's life. And that's amazing. You all chose to be here. It was already said, but I'll say it again. You chose to be in Pearland, Texas. Now, I know there's a lot of members of Pearland here. Okay, so you didn't have to drive very far. But your district's like mine. It's pretty spread out. Y'all chose February 24th of 2024 to sit your backsides in a chair and listen to some goofball like me, but to come out here and be a part of an organization, to be a part of a group, to socialize, to see what's going on, the things that you can do. You chose to give up your time right now. You can be home doing, I don't know, all kinds of things. But you chose to be here. Just like every time there's a service project in your club, you choose to show up. Because I know that y'all do, because y'all are the leaders of your clubs. Now what we've got to do is we've got to go back and we've got to identify people that are in our communities that need that gift. You need to share that gift with them. You don't need to hold that in your hearts. You need the ability to go and say, hey, won't you be a part of my Lions Club? Come see what's going on. Pay that forward to someone else. Again, I want to tell you thank you for what you do. We need to help, and we need help. And we cannot continue to be the world's best kept secret. So I ask you again, isn't there someone that you know who is deserving of the opportunity to serve others? I think the answer to that question is certainly there is. Isn't there someone you know who needs a little light in their life? I think the answer to that question is certainly there is. Past International President F. Grindstaff's name was brought up earlier, and I had a wonderful relationship with Past International President F. He called me that back then, whenever I was coming in as governor. I cut my own hair because I was cheap, and I just shaved it off kind of, and he would always call me that kid with the buzz cut. And he would come and he would visit our district, and he'd be a speaker at different things. And I remember we were having a district convention in Wichita Falls. And the wind was blowing about 45 miles an hour. And for some odd reason, my Ed wore this bucket cap to play golf. Well, every time he'd tee off or every time he'd swing, he'd look up, that cap would go flying, and it was my job to chase his cap and his bucket cap down the green on the fairway. But there's one thing that Lion Ebb would say that always stuck with me, and it was these words. And it's just a simple little sentence, and once you get it, it's there. If it is to be, it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. And that's what we are as Lions. We look at that and we live that. If it is to be, it's up to me. Darkness is our foe. Darkness is our nemesis. But darkness cannot advance unless the light retreats. We must fight and move forward to ensure that the children of Texas who need our Texas Lions Camp have a place to just be kids. We need to continue to look forward to the future. One of the things that's amazing right now is we currently have 2 new bunkhouses in multiple tiny homes that will serve children that aren't even born yet. Where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. Jack Weech in 1949 asked that question, and today we're responding with the force of light that's driving out darkness in children's lives. Started with thank you, and I want to end with thank you. Thank you for all that you do. And I want to leave you with these words in closing. The greatest gift that we receive is the feeling from the gift that we give. The greatest gift that we give is the gift of ourselves. And our greatest gift of ourselves is our gift of service. And that, fellow Lions, is why it is great to be a Lion. Thank you all so much for letting me be a part of District 4.